Hi everyone, it's Christina of CraftyPaws. I wanted to come on today and share a couple of Christmas cards that I made for NewCrafterBev's 600 plus Subbie giveaway challenge. She's asking folks to make a couple of cards for the holidays, as well as an ornament, if you can, to give to veterans who have served our country. And I think that that's such a sweet and wonderful cause. And I knew I wanted to support Bev celebrating 600 plus subbies. So I'm going to share with you guys how I made this card start to finish. And I hope you enjoy the process video. I'm using 3 of the circle dies from the Diamond Dies Die-Normous Stack'em's Circle Nesting Die set. There's 20 dies in this set, which is amazing. It's such a great deal for only $24.99. Plus, if you're placing an order of $35 or more, you can use the coupon code Thanks Christina to get 10% off plus free worldwide shipping. Now you see that I just placed all of those circles on this yellow cardstock and placed them randomly. Now I've taken a pencil and lightly traced the largest circle because that's where I'm going to be stamping out a little scene. I'm using the Lawn Fawn Merry Christmouse stamp set from last year. It's an exclusive that was put out by Lawn Fawn and Simon Says Stamp. And I'm just using some Memento Tuxedo Black ink, and I am stamping out that little Swiss cheese Christmas tree. And then for a really quick little mask, I'm just placing a scrap piece of paper there along the edge of that Christmas tree and stamping out this little mouse with the Christmas present just alongside it. If that tree was more detailed, I would have done a real mask with Post-it paper, but I didn't have to for this little wedge tree. Now I'm just erasing my faint pencil marks, and I'm going to start Copic coloring. One of the great things about these Lawn Fawn images is that they're so simple. Each of the little shapes is pretty small, so you really just need a couple of colors to get a little bit of shading and blending done. So for the little mouse, I'm just using a W1 and a W3. On some of the other mice, I use W0 as well because I wanted to keep all the mice kind of soft and muted. But the blending is super, super easy. I add some pink ears and pink cheeks with an R20. And then I decide to color up the little present with one of my favorite holiday color combinations, which is an aqua with red. And if you're interested in the exact colors that I use, please check out my blog, which I'll link to below. For the Christmas tree, I'm using a YR24 to get the deepest shadows on the little holes of the Swiss cheese tree. And then I use a Y21 for the rest of the tree. And I do a little bit more shading, but again, these Lawn Fawn images are super simple, so there's very little blending that needs to take place. For the star at the top of the tree, I decided to bring in kind of a more yellow-orange, so I'm using a Y38, and I end up later coating that with some Wink of Stella for some extra sparkle. Now for the background, I decided I wanted to make sure that the holes of the Swiss cheese card front that I'm creating also has some yellow, but I didn't want to do it too dark, so I'm using a very pale yellow. This is a Y00, and I guess I could have gone darker given that most holes inside are more shadowed, but I really wanted to keep this light and bright. I color in the background of the other circles off camera, and now I'm just using an ink blending tool with some Tim Holtz Distress ink in Wild Honey. I am blending ink on the edges of each of the holes that I die cut out, as well as all along the edges of the card front. Now off camera, I colored up a couple more of those cute little mice from the stamp set, and now I'm using an X-Acto blade to cut around the little front paws of this mouse. You'll also notice that I just cut away the little stringy tail and actually one of the feet too, because I realized none of that was going to show. I'm also now taking a Faber-Castell Pitt pen in SB point. That's just like a soft brush point, and I'm going all along the edges of each of these mice. including the little paws. I pop those through to the back and I ink the edges of those paws so that the white edge of the paper that I cut doesn't show. I think the detail of inking up the edges of fussy cut images like this really gives a nice finished look to cards. Now, as you can see, I popped the paws forward and I'm just using some wet glue and gluing the bottom of that little mouse with the Santa cap at a bit of an angle so it looks like the little mouse is popping up through the cheese hole of this card front. I've also decided to cut the little paw out of this other little mouse, and I'm doing the same thing. I'm inking the edges of that paw after pushing it back, and now I'm pushing it forward so that it can tuck also around the top hole, and I'm positioning it so I'm gluing the bottom part of the mouse in the hole. And again, this little mouse looks like it's popping up to say hello, and that front left paw is tucked over the outside of the cheese for the card front. As you can see, I put double-sided foam adhesive all along the back side of this card front, including the little mice that are popping up out of the two holes. And I'm just removing the release paper, and then I'm going to be carefully positioning it on the card base. As you can see on the inside, I stamped out another one of those little mice with a little Santa hat, and now I'm going to stamp out the sentiment, which says Merry Christmouse. I love puns like that. And I'm using just my mouse pad as a little backup so that I get a nice, clean, crisp stamping. As you can see, the Copic coloring ink has bled through the card front, so I'm just using a scrap of paper from my scrap box and a glue stick adhesive to just cover that panel up with that paper, and it looks nice and clean and crisp. Now I'm going to do some quick Copic coloring of this little mouse on the inside of the card. I used R20 for the ears, and again I'm just using some W3, W1, and W0 to color in the gray of that little mouse, and I'm giving her some rosy cheeks with R20. The hat is done with R35 and 37, and I'm doing a little shimmer where the white of the hat is with my Wink of Stella. So after I colored up this little mouse, I decided just for some little pop and to use up the little circles that I had die cut out of the card front, I glued those little circles onto the inside of the card, and I actually like the energy that that gives. I also, for the back, covered up the little area where this colored mouse, the ink bled through to the back. And that's my completed card. I hope you enjoyed this process video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Thanks so much for watching.